So, welcome, everyone. A really warm welcome to all of you, to all of us gathering here today. Lovely to see people joining and to read the chat messages, to feel the Sangha gathering and collecting. It's always beautiful to be here, to gather together with you across locations and sharing this intention of coming together to practice, to reflect on the teachings, and to deepen on this path of opening to the full human condition, finding ways to attend to what arises in experience with care and kindness. So yeah, deep welcome, and as usual, the session today will include some reflections on the theme for this week, and then a guided practice in a particular aspect of this week's exploration. And then we'll have time for questions and reflections towards the end. So, very glad to be here with you all at what is, for me, close to the start of the day. Not as early as it is for some of you, but still definitely morning here. So I want today to continue our exploration of ways of relating that support ease and well-being with our experience, to continue our exploration of ways of relating that support ease and well-being in our experience, not dependent on what is actually appearing. Yeah. And so reminding of this thread of practice. I feel like I'm just kind of completely just dived straight in there practically. But that feels, happens through the week, even though some of you may have not been with us. So apologies for those who are still coming in. I've kind of already begun, but you haven't missed much. And that reminder of this thread that we've exploring, when there's an experience, there's something we're paying attention to, and a way, how of paying attention. Yeah, so we can call it the object that's in attention, the way of relating that's coloring our perception, and that's shaping through that the perception in a certain way, particular direction. So, apologies for a moment. Need to blow my nose. So, yesterday we were exploring a way of relating, a way of seeing experience, looking at our experience as inconstant. This is inconstant, this is inconstant. And this was one layer that we were working with. And the other layer was seeing the inconstancy in things. And I know I said this yesterday, I'm kind of pulling this out as two threads. It doesn't feel like two threads for you. Don't worry about it too much. It's something you can ask me at the end. But just the sense of there's two interplaying threads here to this inconstant way of looking. Yeah, just choosing to see, guys, if we're putting on this lens of this is inconstant, we're seeing how that impacts our experience. And the other way is to actually look at something and see the inconstancy in it. Yeah. Like I was saying yesterday, for example, that maybe the change in the movement as I'm speaking. You know, there's the visual stimulation is changing, the cadence of my voice is changing. You know, so we can see the inconstancy. And we're interested to see how that shapes, impacts our experience. When I see things as inconstant, or when I see the inconstancy in things, yeah, either one, um, how does that shape the degree of well-being that's available? And when we kind of get that lens right, kind of precision, we should be seeing, we should be feeling there's more well-being, the experience is lighter, more spacious, and people were reporting that yesterday. Um, and there's just a kind of a sense of, maybe we can say, an okayness, yeah, because there's a less self-referential aspect there, and there's less friction, there's less contraction with our experience. So I'm saying that because something that we kind of want to see, to start being curious, here's the gentle curiosity again around, is how, is to see how we, when we use different ways of relating, when we even kind of bring into our awareness that there's a way of relating and that it's shaping our experience. And we start to see the impact of a way of relating on what we're experiencing, then we start to get an understanding of the fact that well-being and ill-being are conditioned. And we start getting an understanding of what the conditions are that support ill-being, to be there. Or another way of saying it, and this is in the Buddha's world, when there's dukkha, when there's ill-being, what else is there? What co-arises with it? Because when we start to get an understanding of when there's dukkha, there is also this condition, we start to have a sense of what happens to dukkha when that condition isn't there. Mhm. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to repeat it because this is quite important. As we explore our experience, as we start to see the ways our experience is shaped via what we pay attention to and how particular ways of relating reduce ill-being, we can start to ask the question, to inquire, to be curious about what are the conditions that support ill-being to be there. And when these conditions are absent, does that lead to more well-being and ease? And we will probably see that, or to the reduction in dukkha. I mean, that's saying the same thing in two different ways. So one condition that we can get really interested in, or something that's there when dukkha is there, when ill-being is there, and we're talking about the whole range from just kind of unease to more serious or more impactful dukkha and distress. When dukkha is there, there will be contraction. We've already talked about friction. There'll be friction, and there will be contraction. There will be a sense of contractedness in the body. You can feel it in the body. You can feel it in kind of more subtle layers of the body experience. And we can feel it in the awareness, and in the heart mind. And so all of these mirror each other. And the reason why I'm saying all of them is so that we get a sense that sometimes I might notice my thoughts are perhaps agitated or aversive. And then, that actually there's a contractedness there. I might actually feel it in the body. The body's easier for us to attend to and to work with than the heart and mind maybe. But this contraction, it can be in the way, or in the way we kind of fixate around something. The other day I was giving this example of driving back and being concerned that I wouldn't make it on time for the session. And I was noticing how the mind was contracting around the sense of time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Contracting around the sense of time. So dukkha arises with contraction in the body, in the heart, mind, in awareness. And we kind of really want to get a sense of that. I hope that we are. Yeah. When we want something, yeah, then we contract, yeah, this clenched fist. When we um, don't want something, when it's unpleasant to us, push it away. These are all layers of contraction. And well being arises with the opposite. When there's no contraction, when there's less contraction, there's more well being. And it's interesting because there can be well being even, yeah, with um, even when the actual experience may be in the range of unpleasant. Yeah. So there can be well-being, say, with compassion, yeah, with something that's painful in our own experience or someone else. We have compassion. There's well-being in the experience of compassion. Why? Compassion is something that relaxes, opens the space. When we start to get tight, contracted, that degree of well-being will go down. The degree of ill-being will go up. Yeah. So today, following on from this, yeah, the practice today will be both creating spaciousness so that there's less contraction to begin with, and then being sensitive to contraction, um, and um, and inviting it to relax. Yeah, inviting contraction to relax, and then noticing the impact of that. When there's less contraction, what happens to dukkha and well-being, to ill-being and well-being? You can say we're kind of deconstructing a building block of dukkha as we relax the contraction. So hopefully that makes sense to us, and at least makes sense enough to go into a practice together. So let's practice. If you are already in your meditation seat or posture, whatever that may be, standing, reclining, walking, you can do all of those, or sitting. And then using this time to just tune in more fully into the posture. And if, like me, you kind of, or maybe even more dramatically, you need to settle in further, more clearly into your meditation posture, please do that. Taking time to make any adjustments that are needed, to really invite the body into the posture. Noticing as we do so if there's anything we can let go of, if we're leaning forward or backwards, we can just allow the body to align and to ground in the contact with that which is supporting it, the ground, the seat, the mat. As we're tuning into the posture, inviting a softening of the body space, seeing how that allows the body to rest more fully and deeply into the contact, that which supports the body. Also, the softening opens us to that balance, finding that balance between uprightness or alignment, which is the energy, presence, and that being in balance with a degree of softening, of relaxation, of ease. Inviting the awareness to the contact sensations if you have done that already. Feeling the sensations of contact as a support both for the body, resting into the sensations, into the contact. Also for the heart mind, gathering with the sensations of contact. And at your own pace, from that rootedness and groundedness, inviting awareness to open, to soften through the body. Gently filling up the space of the body with awareness, expanding awareness through the whole body and to the whole body. Feeling the whole body here in awareness, softening, opening the space of the body again and again, whole body. And gently seeing now if this is an appropriate time to begin including the breathing, or if sound is a better anchor for you, the sound in the practice. So opening to the flow and the movement of the breath through the space of awareness in the body. And particularly seeing the breath as a movement that is opening and expanding through the body, softening through the body with the breath. And equally, if you're using sound, you can use that, the sense of the sound being known in awareness, that lightness of the touch of awareness between the sound appearing and being known, and the sound rippling, moving through the space of awareness in the body, softening. And through the practice, I'll refer to the breathing, but please feel free to explore sound if that's more helpful for you. And keep softening, opening the space of the body with the breath. You might find it useful to tune in particular to the out breath, the letting go and the softening that naturally opens there. With the in breath, the breath filling the body, softly, gently expanding the space of the body to the whole body. Let's take some time in silence to establish this whole body awareness, tending to breath or to sound in a way that emphasizes the softening, opening, expanding through the whole body. So let's explore this in silence for a little while. Pausing to notice what's arising. An experience, and this too a moment of possibility. Relaxing with our breath, feeling the body expand, softening and opening of awareness with the whole body. Over and over again. When we notice moments of dukkha, of ill-being, whether through distraction, body sensations, anything that arises that attracts the mind away from our practice. Pausing to notice the presence of contraction. Letting go of the story of what has pulled our attention or why. Coming to the body space, coming to awareness. Noticing the presence of contraction. And attending to that through inviting relaxation, through opening and softening the whole space of the body and the whole space of awareness. To whatever degree is possible, it's an invitation, not a command. It's an exploration. I soften the whole body, or can I soften the contraction or around the contraction? Invite some degree of relaxation and ease. Some degree. This may only work for a moment. That's a lot. Appreciating that. If the contraction gets recontracted, invitation to soften, relax, open again. Noticing any impact, any well-being that arises as we practice in this way. Again and again, softening through the whole body, the whole space of awareness. Easing contraction. Also attending to specific contractions. Inviting the whole body to relax. And through relaxing the area of contraction itself or around it. You can use the breath. You can use sound. We can use that invitation to soften and open. To let go of contraction. Opening any bobbing that arises as we practice in this way. Again and again, opening through the body, softening through the body, easing, relaxing, contraction, wherever it arises. Creating a field of less contractedness as you open and soften awareness. Whole body. Whole body. Enjoying, appreciating, savoring any well-being that arises as we continue to practice in this way for the last 5 minutes or so. In a few moments, the bell will ring. Seeing if we can stay open through the body, even as conditions change and the meditation comes to an end. Taking your time to do this. Not rushing to change the posture, not rushing to open the eyes, really taking your time here. Seeing if we can keep that thread of the well-being and of that invitation to open and loosen and relax contraction as much as possible. whenever we notice it, or just kind of generally knowing that it will be there. So I'll say a few words about dana practice, but before I do that, to also explain the possibility of questions and reflections. These are always very rich. If you wish to ask a question around what I've said today, around the practice today or through the week, you can do that through the chat. If you can put a question or reflection at the beginning, if it's more a reflection rather than a clear question, then it helps me identify those within the stream of chat messages. And just a reminder, around dana practice, these sessions are offered in that way. Dana is a great relaxer of contraction, but sometimes we can also have a sense of contraction building up around, oh, another dana talk, or needing to bring attention to this giving and receiving, this participatory quality of dana. This was given to us freely from Sangha and from the lineage of teachings and teachers. And then that can, what do I do with that? So it's an opportunity to notice contraction, to relax it, and also to see, if the movement of giving flows through us, or of appreciation of the receiving. What does that do to any contraction in the being? So whatever you offer this week is gratefully received, will be shared between Sangha Live for the cost of the platform and myself for the teachings. And there's the link to the dana page, all the information there around the practicalities. So let's see if there's any questions or reflections. There's one already. Thanks, Clive. So two reflections there, questions, reflections. Kevin noticed a sense of relief when I said the last 5 minutes. It's interesting. I say it because it's interesting to see what that brings, and sometimes there can be a sense of relief, and then what do we do with that? Because a sense of relief means there was some contraction, and maybe that sense of relief was the releasing of that contraction. We can look back and kind of feel, was there something else that could have supported relieving that sense of contraction without kind of the time element of it? So that can be interesting. I also say, I often say there's a few more minutes, because I feel like that gives us a chance to notice what's going on. Sometimes we zone out at some point in the meditation, partially or quite a lot. It might be only a little bit, and then that can bring invigoration, interest into the practice for that. But if you notice that, really good opportunity for reflection, to just say, okay, what was that? What was the sense of relief? What was the contraction that relaxed there? And using the imagination, what could I have done there? To kind of work with that before. Often, contraction goes hidden. We don't notice it. And so the relief is an indication that it was there. Thanks, Clive. I really appreciate hearing your views about the Israel-Palestine situation. For example, yesterday you said you were going to tell us about something to do with the demonstration. Could you fill in this gap? So I don't know what you're asking in particular. I think I did. Maybe I spoke about that after 8 your time, because I hadn't done that before. I've been going to protests every day, which is part of why I'm looking so tired every evening. So I think yesterday was something to do with this way of looking of impermanence, of inconstancy, which we were using yesterday. But I think to say all these practices are incredibly useful when we're in kind of situations of intensity, whether it's just the intensity of these 7 months now of intense grief and pain, and might be other strong emotions, um, and then so it's that kind of ongoing strain, and then the particularities that come up, and we can work with them through our practice. We can look at the movement, the flow of the changing, the inconstancy of our own experience in relationship to it. Doesn't mean that we change our view necessarily, just moment to moment noticing the change. And this relaxing the contraction practice that we did today, incredibly useful. Um, of just working with whatever comes up, whether it's, I'm in a protest and, for example, sometimes they're very, very loud, incredibly hard for me, to deal with, there's like loudspeakers everywhere. And then that's, very clearly leads to contraction, relaxing the contraction, seeing how other aspects, I can work with the body space, but also remembering my intention, remembering the intention of people that are using the sound system so that they're heard, can really be helpful to relax the contraction. Or, someone makes a comment, that's not very uh, friendly, and feel the contraction. Last night that happened, one a grandmother who had lost her daughter, son-in-law, and 3 young grandchildren on October 7th, burnt to death in their home in the south of Israel. She was speaking, this was a war for this was a protest in favor of a ceasefire and calling for the government to end this. And she was speaking, but she was speaking from her heart, from her grief. And someone, was standing on a bridge above and shouted something very aggressive and dismissive of her. And this is very painful to witness, very, very painful to witness. And again, the heart, I'm doing this, the heart does that. And then feeling like the compassion for her, holding her as if the compassion is kind of surrounding in my mind, helps that to relax. And then working with my own body to relax the contraction, to allow the compassion to come through. So compassion both eases contraction, but also sometimes we need to ease contraction to let the compassion flow through. So that's kind of part of these are some examples. I hope that responds to your question, Clive. I don't know if you're asking me really about my view in case it's not clear, so my view from, for decades has been that the only way for people to be safe in this region is through mutual respect and through justice and human rights for all. So there needs to be war is not a solution. I think the situation here makes it very, very clear. Aggression is not a solution. Harming each other is not a solution. And we're in a very, very extreme case at the moment, a very extreme stage where the violence on the people of Gaza and also on the people, Palestinians of the West Bank, where I spend a lot of my time, is horrific. So there's a lot to say, and I think Dharma can really help us both to hold our space and to look with wisdom at what is happening, to understand these are the causes of suffering at play. It's greed, hatred, and delusion at play. So yeah, so there's a lot there, and that can help to give us some context to understand and to hold our own experience and the experience of others in ways that offer possibilities for change and to work for change. I'm going to protests every day because I think it's important to stand up for what we believe in, and to stand up for what we wish to see. Really important. And the protests now, just to say, in Israel are very much about bringing an end to the incursion in Gaza, the horrific things that are happening in Gaza. All right. Thanks, Lizzie. A reminder there, Clive, also from Lizzie about something I said yesterday, about seeing that impermanence of, the inconstancy in the sense of young children coming to the protest and making their own signs, and how beautiful uh, that was to see that movement flowing on. Yesterday, I met my nephew at a protest. He's been very active. He's 16. He's not a young child, but it's also very moving to see. He's been very, very, very active, but we've never managed to meet because the protests are too busy. There are too many people. Right. There is a question here from Caroline. At the beginning of meditation, I often have a strong sensation in my legs, a sort of an itch, as I'm wearing really scratchy clothes. As if, okay, I'm not. That tends to gradually go, but I was wondering if you have any ideas to why this happens. I'm not sure why it happens. It can be really interesting to work with that in a little bit in the way we've been doing. So, I'll suggest several things. One way is to shift the attention away, which you may be doing, or just to say, okay, it's going to pass. These are ways to work with unpleasant sensations. But sometimes all kinds of energetic things happen. So it can be interesting in our practice to reflect on, at the beginning of practice, sometimes for some of us, actually, at the beginning of practice, we're already quite collected. Yeah, we might just sit down, or whatever our posture is, and immediately there'll be a sense of contractedness, of presence and gatheredness, and actually some momentum. But if that's the case, that might actually be, something to attend to and say, okay, that sensation, which feels itchy or scratchy, might be something energetic that's actually, not a bad thing. So softening the contraction around it, can be interesting, because if it's a little bit unpleasant, even there'll be a rejection of it, and we want to soften that. We want to soften the contraction and soften around it. See if you can open the space around those sensations and start to meet them playfully. Yeah. And sometimes you can even imagine that they're actually pleasant and see what happens. Yeah, because a lot of the perception of pleasant and unpleasant is actually in perception. It's in awareness rather than in the thing itself. Certainly here, there's no physical cause for these sensations, and then they just go away. So play with relaxing the contraction, opening the space as if there's a kind of awareness is bigger than your legs, bigger than your physical body, and kind of playfully hold them in attention, and see if you can start relating to them as pleasant rather than as unpleasant. And let's see what happens with that. I know it may seem a little bit wacky there, but but it can be interesting to explore if you wish. If you wish. Uh, yes. Yeah. And Kaz is reminding us of that beautiful phrase from the Dhammapada. Hatred does not cease but hatred, but by non-hatred alone. Does hatred cease? This an eternal truth. Yes, we have to stand for what we believe in, absolutely, with our hearts as open as possible, but also clear, that sense of integrity, that sense of strength that comes with our practice. Yeah. Thank you, Kaz. And okay, see, there's one, reflection of Kevin, who is relieved by 5-minute notice? Yes, good question. I mean, one way of seeing it is just if you dwell in the sense of relief, there's not much, there isn't a big who there, which is interesting, the relationship between contraction, dukkha, sense of self. But you can drop in that question, or you can just see what happens when we dwell in more ease, when we release contraction. How does that relate to the sense of self? How strong is it? The who, the I. Very, very interesting practice and reflection to drop in. So wishing you all, whether it's a beautiful night or a beautiful day, depending on your time zone, a fruitful day, a day of practice, a day of embodiment of what we value. and dedicating, as always, our practice together and the fruits of it to the alleviation of suffering for all beings everywhere. Thank you for being here. Hope to see you here tomorrow for our last session of this week. Go well.